Akbar. What can I say about Ak? He was the guy around here. He was the general. Everybody loved him. He treated me right. I've known him since 2001. I met him at Johnny Valentine's Memorial, and he treated me well. Every time I called Ak, he talked to me, never blew me off. He worked with me back in 2008. He worked with Bill Mercer and Mark Lawrence at my show. I was proud to do that. I was sad to hear him go. His family's here. We inducted him in 2011. Tonight we're inducting Devastation Incorporated, which is going to be really cool. So to the Weeba family, thank you and love you, Ak.
What can be said about Devastation Incorporated that anybody in this room doesn't already know? You mentioned that name. The first person that pops to mind is the mastermind behind all that. General Skandor Akbar. And without going into too much detail, I can tell you right now, I was scared to death of that man when I was a little kid. And when I finally met him, it was just an honor. The first time I met him, and from then on, when him and Danny Hodge got together, I was the man that said, "What you guys want to drink?" And then I would sit it down there and just listen to him talk for hours and hours. So ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start this one off with Travis Baxter. And he's going to bring a few more people up here with him. Travis is here to induct Devastation Incorporated.
I know most are aware of Akbar's history. I'm going to run down a little bit for some of the newer faces that are in here. Definitely should know who he is. Definitely should be educated on, to me, one of the greatest managers this area and the South has seen, and really the whole wrestling world back in the glory days, or what I consider glory days of 70s, 80s, world class, etc. This yearly event honors those that have been instrumental, inspirational, made an impact, been in wrestling, made contributions. Some of those being inducted in previous years and today can also undoubtedly be called legends of the sport. The dictionary's definition for the word legend states, a legend is one popularly regarded as historical or a person that inspires. And those definitions can definitely be set true of Skandor Akbar. He truly had an illustrious career traveling across the world, drawing heat to levels never before seen in the sport. He was an accomplished pro wrestler beginning in the 60s under the guidance of the legendary Luthez. And around the mid to late 70s is when he started turning his attention to wrestling or towards managing and stopped wrestling on a full-time basis. And most will say that it was when he was managing is when he made his biggest impact in the pro wrestling history books. It was when he turned to managing that he really began to develop and create the much known and much feared group Devastation Incorporated. He was a master like none other at being the bad guy. He was once quoted in the Dallas Morning News saying, "Wrestling is good and evil, and I'm the evil part." But he was so much more to so many, especially us that knew him. He went on to have a long, successful pro wrestling career, or he actually helped a lot of people that went on to have long professional careers. Your Steve Austins, John Layfields, many of the people in this room here, including myself, he made a big impact on. His 40-year career, 40 years in the business, can't be matched by many, especially in this area. He created one of the professional wrestling's most elite, most well-known stables of talent ever, which is being inducted today. This group was so feared and so hated in its day that its leader, General Skandor Akbar, was attacked, he was ambushed with sticks and rocks, and even had to wear a bulletproof vest to an event at the Superdome in the 80s due to death threats. I believe like 14 death threats that the police department got. So the line between good and evil is a lot different today than it was back then, and people didn't generally cheer for the bad guys back then, and he really took that to the maximum and played that hard and knew how to work the crowd and get heat, like I said, like not many can. The list of wrestlers that were a part of Devastation Incorporated, many are in this room today, is way too numerous to list. It probably exceeds 50 people at one point that were part of Devastation Incorporated. Several that have already been inducted into the Texas Hall of Fame are here today. They're going to be speaking in a minute. Gary Young, Black Bart, Spoiler 2000, all were members of the General of Scandal Akbar's Devastation Incorporated, along with names like Kamala, Andy Young, One Man Gang, Mick Foley, King Kong Bundy, Johnny Manziel, Hercules Hernandez, and the list goes on and on and on and on. In one way or another, ACT played a major role in elevating many of the wrestlers to the top of the wrestling world, not to mention all the unforgettable historic feuds that took place with the General, leading the war against all that was good. Like Devastation's legendary feuds against Jim Duggan, Bill Watts, Ernie Ladd, and Andre the Giant, and the days of world class at the Sportatorium over in Dallas, Texas, where he had memorable and bloody feuds with Chris Adams, the Freebirds, and of course, the Von Erichs. ACT is truly one of the wrestling's greatest villains of all time, and for his efforts and great sacrifices for this sport, today, the legendary Devastation Incorporated are being inducted into the IHWE Texas Wrestling Hall of Fame. It's with the greatest honor and great pride that we induct them today. We miss you, ACT. Now at this time we have a few gentlemen, good friends of ACT's, people that were in Devastation Incorporated with them, people that went up and down all the roads and all across the country with them. First, we have gorgeous Gary Young.
A couple of words about ACT. First time I met Scandal Akbar was 1978 in the Freeway, Missouri, Bill Watts territory. I was one of the fortunate guys that got to get in the ring with him and work with him, and boy, was he stiff. But you know what? His love for the sport goes beyond even the 40 years. I think we're off about 12 or 13 years. He had the longest run of any management organization there ever was in the sport. Guys, he's had the best wrestlers the sport's ever produced under his belt at some time or other. Which goes to say, you know, what a great guy he was, because people wanted to be a part of that organization. I was proud to be part of Devastation Inc. Making road trips with him was like none others. When you sat in the car with him and Bronco Lewis, and it took you 9 hours for a 4-hour trip, you were well versed with what was going on in the business. You know, there's tons and tons of stories we could sit here and talk about it, but really today I just want to say what a great human being he was. Probably the godfather of Texas sports, whether it was high school or college. He knew everything there was to know about it. And if you tried to drill him on it, he would nail you every time. Not only did he know the coaches, the high schools, the names of the high schools, the athletes, he could give you the stats, and it was amazing to be in the same room with a guy. I learned so much. What I was able to give back to some of the young guys today, I learned from that man right there. And this old guy right here.
Akbar, he talked about his knowledge about, a lot of people don't know that I played football too. When the first day I laid eyes on Akbar, he told me he went all the way back to my junior high years in playing football, and we were undefeated like for up to the 10th grade. And in 10th grade, they all started, guys started smoking marijuana and chasing women. There was 7 of us. He said, in your graduating class, there was 7 of the starters from that original junior high team. He was absolutely right. And he didn't just only name me, he named every one of them, the 7 that was left. And the whole team at the time, we was like supposed to win state and everything else, but when we got up there, they wouldn't, we had nothing. We went out on the foot. He told me a story, and I had no idea that he knew, but we played Wichita Falls Rider. And brother, they kicked our butts like, the score was like 65-7. and they had their third or fourth team on the field, and we had our starters on the field, and they just kicking our butts up and down the field. He said, a guy stuck you right here and drove me in the ground, and the next play, I returned the favor. I stuck him, and I drove him in the ground. And I'm like, oh, I did good. Well, he's got his ears and his fingers in my ear holes of my helmet. And when he goes down, he takes my helmet with him. And them double straps, it just goes up your face, just rips your face off. Anybody play football knows what I'm talking about. He took my helmet, he got up laughing, and he took my helmet and he threw it as far as he could throw it down that field. And when he did, I lost it. And I dove right on top of him. Both benches come to the field, and we're out there slugging. They're beating us like 70-0 or 70-7. And Akbar tells me that story. And for him to, I don't know how he got his information, because it wasn't no big time thing. His son was a football coach, and still is, I think, to this day. Yeah.
He also said you had the biggest helmet.
But to me, Akbar was like a daddy to me. And when we got together, we was in Jim Crockett's plane, flying here and there, and Akbar, he hated to fly. He hated to fly. And now we come from the big giant birds down to this little crop duster kind of thing. And Crockett had a big one, but we was never on the nice one. We was on the little crop duster thing, the puddle jumper. But I would stand in the ring at the beginning of the match, and I would do this. Well, it kind of caught on, so Akbar started kind of doing this. I'd step in the ring and I would do this, and Akbar would say, I don't know, but here it comes again. And he would start doing it. This little something that me and him done, all the fans say, what does that mean? What does that mean? I would say, I don't know, but here it comes again. Akbar, I love with all my heart. And for Devastation Inc. to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, I appreciate it. I know he would appreciate it. Love y'all.
All right, we'd also like to bring up the IHWE family. They'd like to say a few words.
Thank you, Mark. Family, stand up.
Well, on behalf of the Weaver family, Scott or Akbar's family, I'd like to thank David first and all the other people that are here that put this together to this occasion to honor all these men. Uncle Jimmy, as we knew him, he died in 2010, only 4 years of summer. And we miss him a lot, and I think about him a lot. And I think, how lucky was he? He got to wrestle in the Sportatorium in Dallas. He wrestled in Madison Square Garden. He wrestled all over the southern U.S., the Midwest, the Great Northwest. He went to Japan for a year or 2 years. He went to Australia for a year or 2 years. And, he always said when he was young how much he liked to travel. And I was thinking, what other profession would you be able to travel like he did, except for wrestling? So, and also I would like to congratulate all the other men that were inducted in the Hall of Fame today. Whether you play football, baseball, basketball, or you're a wrestler, when you get inducted to the Hall of Fame, that is the pinnacle of your profession. And you should feel very honored. And I'd like to thank you all.